Good evening, my name is Maeve O'Keefe, and I suppose I'm just going to start a bit about my background. So my topic is reducing lameness in dairy cows. So my background, I'm a dairy farmer, I'm in partnership with my parents, and we're milking 130 cows in a spring calving system. I studied agriculture in WIT and Kildalton, and as part of our work experience in college, I travelled to New Zealand. I did placement on a 1,300 cow dairy farm, and I did it for a year and a half. On the farm in New Zealand, there was about 6 or 7 lame cows every morning. And it was just standard procedure that when we'd see the lame cows in the milking parlour, they were drafted out and 2 people would treat them after milking. So I thought this was a really good concept. However, when I returned back to our own dairy farm in Ballyknoe, I'd be nearly embarrassed to say what we were doing, but if we had a lame cow at home, we typically wait until we had maybe a second or even a third lame cow to justify the call-out fee of a hoof trimmer. So I suppose by this stage I'd learned how to treat the cows from my experience in New Zealand, but I just didn't have anywhere safe to treat the cows at home. So I approached my father. We have a small engineering business on the farm as well, and I said to him, look, if we can make some kind of a handling facility that you won't have to be around to hold a leg and I go treating a cow, I'll treat our own lame cows at home. So we developed a very simple rollover crush, and it worked extremely well. And then when our neighbouring farmers seen it working, they encouraged us to take it a step further. And that's how Inspect 4 Hoof Trimming Limited came about, which is another company. And underneath that company, now we are manufacturing both fixed and mobile units for farmers and hoof trimmers. I suppose being involved in the hoof care industry, I'm the former secretary of the Irish Cattle Foot Trimmers Association, which is all the private hoof trimmers in the country. One of my roles there was to help organise an open day. So this was to get in guest speakers to talk to the Irish hoof trimmers and farmers about lameness in dairy cows. So I had no problem getting in guest speakers from other countries, but when it came to our own country, I found it next to impossible to find someone to speak to us on lameness. The only person I found in the end was a vet from Teagasc, but her time was split between both mastitis and lameness. And mastitis, unfortunately, had taken over, as it is a huge topic as well. So on the day, we had up-to-date research and presentations from the UK and from the Netherlands. And the Irish presentation, it was old research based when mortallara or digital dermatitis had just entered the country. So this was a big shock to me, and I suppose with cow numbers increasing in Ireland, I thought lameness, there should be a lot more emphasis put on it in Ireland, and just how little we know about lameness in dairy cows in Ireland. So that's what encouraged me to do my Nuffield and to do it on reducing lameness in dairy cows. So my objectives then, to establish the cause of lameness, to identify the primary causes of lameness, look at ways on how we can reduce lameness at a farm level, and also look at ways on how we can reduce lameness from an industrial level. So just a quick introduction to lameness. Lameness, it's a multifactorial problem. It can be caused by bacteria, environment, or husbandry. A lame cow will lead to a decrease in milk production, poor quality of milk. She'll be slower to walk, holding up the rest of the herd. It'll also lead to body condition score losses. That can lead on to other problems such as fertility problems. Also, if you have a lame cow, and say if you are in a spring calving breeding system and you only have a few weeks to get your cows and calf, if you have a lame cow, she's not going to show you a sign of heat. So it'll be 3 weeks later before she comes in heat again. And then you've already lost out in 3 weeks. The following year, you've lost out in 3 weeks' milk and you've a later calf. I suppose the other thing with lameness, it can lead to culling with a low cull value, and also it can lead to animal welfare concerns. For my travels, I was part of the Africa GFP, so there was 8 of us and we travelled to 8 different countries. It was the most fantastic experience, and you meet some amazing people on the journey. However, I didn't get to see too many lame cows in Washington, DC or in Kenya when we were hand milking them in a paddock. So for my study topic, I visited the UK, the Netherlands, New Zealand and Denmark. So this is a picture outside Legoland Hotel in Denmark. I thought the taxi actually had made a mistake when he dropped me off here, as I was attending the International Lameness Conference last year. But no, it was the right venue. So it was a 2-day conference. It was a brilliant event. 185 people attended it from 26 different countries. The most of the people that attended this event were actually hoof trimmers. So you're interacting with Italian hoof trimmers, Canadian hoof trimmers, Danish hoof trimmers, and you were meeting with hoof care experts from all around the world. They were giving presentations, and as well as the classroom presentations, we actually brought in some dead feet, cadaver feet, into the hotel, and we all got a chance to pair the dead feet, so you could see the Italian method versus the Danish method, which was really interesting. The key findings, I suppose the costs of lameness are much higher than anticipated. Each single case of lameness can be costing a farmer up to €300. If Ireland reaches its target of 1.395 million cows by 2020, taking a conservative 20% lameness, because lameness can range between 15 and 50%. So just taking a conservative 20% lameness, it's going to cost Irish dairy farmers over 84 million a year. So it's a really costly problem. I suppose the primary causes of lameness then, they varied between the different countries. So in the likes of the Netherlands, where the cows were housed indoors all year round, Mortellaro was by far the biggest problem. They focused an awful lot on the preventative trimming. So some farms were getting in professional hoof trimmers to trim all the cows twice a year. Some other farms were getting them in maybe 4 times a year. They also focused a lot on foot batting. In New Zealand then, where the cows were outdoors, I met with a vet in the North Island, Neil Chesterton, and he reckons that the 2 main contributors to lameness in New Zealand are track maintenance and stockmanship. And white line is by far the biggest problem there, and Mortellaro isn't a problem there yet. He also reckons that 75% of lameness is caused around the milking parlour and the collecting yards. I met with another hoof care expert in the South Island in New Zealand, Fred Hookestra, and he reckons that stress is one of the biggest contributing factors to lameness. The importance of recording lame cows. So I heard it once today and I'll say it again, you can't manage what you can't measure. And it's the same goes for lameness. We all record our cows if they get an antibiotic treatment. So we should be doing the exact same with lameness. We should be recording what foot she was lame on and what the problem was. And this can help pinpoint maybe where the problem is coming from on the farm. There's an excellent PDF available to everyone online I came across. It's called ICAR Claw Health Atlas, and it gives a really clear picture of each type of problem that there is, every type of problem there is to do with lameness, and a short description. And this is what we should be using when we're recording the lame cows, as the hoof care experts from around the world have put this together so that we're recording the same white line as what they were recording in America or in Denmark, etc. The importance of biosecurity on farms. On my travels, I learned that Mortellaro, or otherwise known as digital dermatitis, can spread. Not only can it spread between animals, but it can spread on equipment. And it just goes back to the basics, disinfecting, and also if you're buying in stock, maybe you quarantine them and foot bat them before mixing with your own herd. Just an observation on my travels, all the farms I visited had a crush to handle the lame cows. Whether it was in New Zealand or whether it was in the Netherlands, there is a handling facility there for them to handle the lame cows on the farms as soon as they were seen lame. My recommendations, I suppose my main recommendation is that we would treat a lame cow the exact same way as we would treat a cow with mastitis. So we all know if we have a cow with mastitis in the morning, we're not going to say, sure, look, we'll just leave her there until we have a few more together. So lameness should be exactly the same. The longer you leave a lame cow, the worse she's going to get. I suppose another thing we need to be doing is maybe identifying the lame cows that bit earlier. So I suppose the stitching time saves 9. The sooner we can pick out these lame cows and the sooner we can treat them, the faster recovery they're going to have and the less it's going to impact in your pocket. AHDB over in the UK have a mobility scoring chart that's available online, and they also have some really good videos that you can look at on mobility scoring. I suppose treat the cows as soon as possible. If you see even one lame cow, make that phone call to your hoof trimmer or your vet, and don't do what we were doing at home, wait until you have 2 or 3 to justify a call-out fee, because as I've shown earlier, the costs of lameness are much more significant than just the direct costs. I suppose the other thing you could do is if you don't want to call in the hoof trimmer or the vet, maybe upskill yourself. I know of 3 organisations offhand running hoof trimming courses. There's Excel Vets, there's Dunmas Genetics, and there's Irish Cattle Foot Trimmers Association. These also run mobility scoring courses. For my recommendations, I would recommend Teagasc. I think they're a fantastic resource to our Irish farmers to maybe apply somebody full-time just to research on lameness. I would recommend that a cost calculator would be developed so the farmers can see exactly how much lameness is costing them on their own dairy farms. I would recommend that Animal Health Ireland would run a lameness workshop similar to the way they have set up the cell check workshop, and maybe incorporate mobility scoring again as a part of that. And also to publish a farm guide for lameness control in the same way they have done a farm guide for mastitis control. So with that, I would like to thank Nuffield Ireland for this fantastic opportunity. I would especially like to thank Bill O'Keefe, John Turrell and Jim Gelch. I was awarded a 2015 Nuffield Scholarship, and I'm presenting with the 2016s, and they were very accommodating when I was unable to take part in the GFP in 2015. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank my mentor, Jonathan Toy. I'd like to thank my fellow 2015 and 2016 scholars. A massive thank you to the sponsors for making this possible. And lastly, I'd just like to thank my family and my parents, and also to my husband Ed for travelling around looking at lame cows. Thank you.